On this Soul Food Sunday, I want to talk about how Jesus wants to restore each of us. And I'm going to look at three very familiar stories in the Bible, just briefly, and how he chose and he continues to choose to bring healing for us. First one is how Jesus healed the woman who'd been bleeding for 12 years. Now, especially women, you can relate. We all have gone through the cycles, but imagine 12 years of struggling with your health. In her case, I'm sure she was weak, low in iron, and really feeling totally disconnected from all her loved ones. But she humbled herself, and in a crowd of people, when Jesus was passing through, she reached for the hem of his garment. And I just want to invite you today. Are you struggling with something? Now, I want to be clear and make sure because sometimes people might think that if they are sick, if they have some horrible disease, that it's been sin in their lives. That is definitely not the case, and it wasn't the case then. But we know that we can come to Jesus with all of our burdens, and that includes our physical ones. Even the smallest things of maybe a headache, all the way up to some debilitating disease. And so Jesus touched the woman. Another one is how he healed emotionally. We're all familiar with the story of the disciple Peter and how Peter was always putting his foot in his mouth and always saying this or that. We know that he cut off the ear of one of the soldiers in the Garden of Gethsemane just before Jesus' crucifixion on the cross. So he was impulsive, he was bold, but then we also know the shame he incurred when he betrayed or denied, not betrayed, but denied Jesus. I guess it is a way of betrayal, but he denied Jesus at Jesus' most greatest need for a friend, need for support. He denies the Lord. But yet, after Jesus rose from the dead, we know that Jesus comes back and he reaches out to Peter, and we know that he forgives him lovingly, receives him back, but he also restores Peter. And he says those familiar lines, on this rock, I will build my church. And so Peter became one of the greats of the early church. He could have easily held that against Peter, but he is in the business of restoring us no matter what we've done. There's nothing you could have done ever that could compare that Jesus would say, nope, that's one thing I won't forgive. So, whatever you've done, whatever your past, whatever mistakes, Jesus is ready to restore you. And then the last is the story that we hear of the parable of the prodigal son. And this is where the son is restored spiritually. The father represents God, and the son represents us and our waywardness. And the son we know gets his inheritance early and says, I'm out of here. And he leaves and he goes and he squanders his money until he's broke. And then he finds himself, he comes to the end of himself, the Bible says. He finds himself feeding hogs, which was the ultimate insult for a Jew. And so he realizes, my father's servants live better than this. They have plenty to eat and are well taken care of. So he humbles himself and he returns home, only to be received by a loving father like our loving God. And he's restored back into the family. We serve an awesome, amazing God and Jesus that wants to restore us no matter what. He wants to restore us physically, to help us. And if that disease or sickness is not healed here, we know in eternity it will be. And also, he will give us the endurance, the strength to endure while you're going through whatever it is. He wants to heal us emotionally. Whatever mistakes, when we blew it completely, he wants to heal us. But then he also wants to heal us spiritually and invite us in. When we hand over those heavy things that we're carrying around, the guilt, the shame, the unforgiveness for someone who's wronged us. When we give that to Him, we're able to be free of the weight of that. So let's give Him all of those things so that we can walk into being the masterpiece He always designed for us to be. So let's find that restoration in Jesus today. If you're watching this live, today is the last day to sign up for my course, my academy course that's called Restore Your Health Academy, because I believe more than anything that a lot of the sickness and disease that is preventable can be improved greatly, if not reversed, when we begin to look at these three areas: our spiritual life, our emotional life, how we think, as well as our physical life. When we start making changes to our physical life and fixing those things, poor eating habits, having an unhealthy um, relationship with the wrong foods, when we realize what our body needs and craves, it's not the junk. When we realize that sometimes that feeling of emptiness, it can only be met with Jesus, not a bag of chips, not a glass of wine or beer, or pop for that matter. It can only be met through Him. And so, again, I want to invite you to check that out. There's a link. If it's after that date, still go ahead, check out that link, respond, and let me know. Maybe you want to sign up later, the next time it comes around. But regardless, begin to look at these three areas. Are you deficient in one? Because what tends to happen when we're deficient in something, our body, our mind, our spirit begins to crave getting refilled somewhere else. And that's why it's important to be in perfect balance. Because if physically I'm lacking, I search out in the other areas. If emotionally I'm deficient, I'm not where I need to be, I go to the other areas. But I'm still deficient there. It doesn't fill that particular need. And so we need to make sure we are really walking in balance in all three areas. They're aligned. Think of tires on your car. If one has too little air, you're not going to have a very smooth ride. You're going to use more gas. It's going to affect other things in the car. And that's why you want all of those tires aligned. And it's the same way with our spirit, mind, and body. So I hope that you have a wonderful, awesome, blessed Sabbath day. Make sure you're getting your rest. Sometimes we're going just constantly 24/7, and that's hard on the body as well. But take time to nurture the spirit and talk to Jesus today and give Him those burdens that you're carrying. He has solutions that you don't realize. So have a wonderful week. Come back for another 5 Minute Monday Mindset, and we'll talk again soon. Take care, and of course, God bless.